Welcome to Taking Care of Business on News Talk 1180 KERN for the best in Saturday talk radio at 1 o'clock, and on 1230 KGEO at 10 o'clock Saturday, and for the best in Wednesday talk radio on 1410 KERI, the Christian station. We're now on 1000 KKIM in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and also 3 times a week on the internet nationwide through knookmedia.com. Plus, you can catch any and all of our shows for the last 4 years on YouTube at Clay and Marty Show. I still can't believe it's been 4 years, Clay.
Well, we're growing up.
Yes, not old, just up, right? My partner is Clay Koerner, and I'm Marty Pay, and our producer is Greg Hill. But today, subbing for Greg is the Goose. So we had a great show last week with Scott Lipton from Grassroots. He was the Grassroots director from Fed Up at the Pump. A lot of response on that show, Clay. I guess people don't want to have their gas tax go up 16 to 75 cents a gallon. Yeah,
the CTA, the California Trucking Association, is interested in getting that show, by the way.
Oh, they are? Okay.
And I wasn't here, as you know. I was in Las Vegas giving a little talk on Obamacare.
One of your favorite subjects. Yeah, we'd love to give him that show because we had a lot of insight from Scott out of that show. We also had a great interview with Craig Luther talking about his new book, Barbarossa, Germany's Drive into Russia. Fascinating subject, and there's a lot of parallels to what's going on today in the Ukraine. So there was a lot of insight there. But speaking of today, we have a great show. In the second half, we have one of our favorite guests, author, political commentator, Andrew Klavan. But right now by phone, we have a retired colonel who I like. He's a very strong conservative, and he's running for the Senate in the great state of Louisiana, Colonel Rob Maness. Colonel Maness, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Glad to be here.
So why are you running for the Senate?
Well, you know, I spent 32 years in the U.S. Air Force under oath to the Constitution to protect it. And then when I left and came home, I saw that our Constitution is being trampled on, literally, by folks that we've elected to office that have taken the same oath that I have. And I started to realize fairly quickly that my 2-year-old grandson is not likely to inherit a United States of America as we knew it. It will be the United States of something else. So bottom line is, I still feel I have a responsibility to him and to my kids to make sure they inherit the country that I fought for all those years.
Is there anybody,
and not something else?
Is there anybody in particular, when you say they're trampling on the Constitution, you can speak of?
Boy, how about
well,
that?
Let's start with our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, and my Democrat opponent, Senator Mary Landrieu. She voted for Obamacare without reading it, and has made multiple video statements that said that she would vote for it again. It is an unconstitutional law under the Commerce Clause, and it only became constitutional when Justice Roberts rewrote it to a tax law, which I believe is still unconstitutional because of the origination clause.
It's a total disaster, and this guy thinks he's a king, and he can change the rules and regulations and requirements anytime he wants to. My frustration is the Republicans don't stand up to him.
I'm very frustrated with that, too. I'm on record as calling for the folks that are in the House of Representatives that if they feel that high crimes and misdemeanors have been committed, they have a constitutional duty to respond to that and initiate that process. And I've been asked what I would do as a senator, and my response is I don't have any problems listening to the evidence and then voting the way we need to vote, regardless of who's in office or what party they're in.
Well, you know, one of the things that frustrates me even more is Kevin McCarthy is from Bakersfield. He's the number 2 legislator in Congress.
Yeah, and he's our congressman from. I have to tell you guys, it's almost like you guys set that up. That was a perfect set up question there, Clay. I like that. We're very well done.
now, Mr. McCarthy, I do have to give him credit, though. He has called for the Export-Import Bank to not be authorized again, and I support that effort. So,
right.
And we like Congressman.
Welfare is something that needs to disappear.
He's getting a lot of kickback on that banking situation, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is.
No, Kevin.
We're going to have a big fight about that here in our spicy election. In Louisiana, Senator Landrieu is a big proponent, believe it or not, of corporate welfare and the Ex-Im Bank. And my moderate establishment Republican opponent, Congressman Bill Cassidy, can't decide whether he likes it or not, but he's voted to approve it and authorize it multiple times in the past. So.
Well, they probably have no knowledge of how small businesses operate, and never ran a business of their own. At least Kevin ran a business of his own, so he understands a little bit about what we go through as small business owners. And that's part of the problem in this country. The majority of the people are small business owners.
This is true.
Either that or they're on welfare and unemployment. Especially in Louisiana.
And I became, I started getting involved in small business after I retired. I worked for a Fortune 500 utility company here in New Orleans called Entergy, and that was a great experience. But I also operate a farm through my in-laws, and learning the challenges that the small business owners in the agribusiness world face is extremely important to understand that and know where they're coming from, especially when you're running for office in a state like Louisiana that has a huge agribusiness sector.
We're having a conversation with Colonel Rob Maness, who's running for Senate in Louisiana. I can see Colonel Maness. I can see Clay here on the other side of the table, just winding up here.
Yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll. I mean, Louisiana. I remember Katrina and how they blamed Bush for all those problems. But you look at all these other situations that come up. Obama's destroying the world.
One state at a time. So let's talk a little bit about your race. You've got one Libertarian. You've got Mary Landrieu, yourself, and Congressman Cassidy. You're the only conservative in the bunch there, obviously. But your main opposition is Mary Landrieu, who's the current senator from Louisiana, correct?
That's right. That's right. Our main opposition is Mary Landrieu, who is the current senator. She's going into her 18th year as a senator from Louisiana, and before that, she was involved at state level government. And I'm not sure she's ever really had a job. I mean, there may be a small business there that I'm not aware of, but as far as a job outside of government, and I think that's an important difference between the two of us. And
that sounds like
she's very powerful from a Louisiana perspective, and is running on her clout now that she's the senior senator from Louisiana and the chair of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee.
Sounds a lot like our president. I don't think he's ever held a real job either. But my question to you is: give us the specific differences between you and Mary Obama. I mean, Mary Landrieu.
Well, for one thing, we already talked about the concepts like the Export-Import Bank. I'm not for any corporate welfare. The big corporations in this country, they have enough money. They're holding capital on the table, trying to wait some things out, and not creating jobs like they should be, which is stifling the small business industry in this country, and is keeping those folks from creating jobs. So I don't support any stuff like that. In the Obamacare Act, look, I've signed a pledge. I was offered to sign a pledge to repeal it and defund the law and pull it out by the roots. And I signed that pledge, and I was endorsed by the Senate Conservatives Fund partially because I signed that pledge. But none of my opponents want to do that. They want to repeal it and replace it, and she now wants to fix it, even though she didn't read the bill before she voted on it, apparently, to see what disaster it was. And then the third thing is, I'm really concerned about our banking system, our monetary policy, and our national defense and security of this nation, not just from a defense capability perspective, but from a security perspective, like down on the border and those kind of things. This latest incident with the supposed tens of thousands of unaccompanied minors coming in to the country and then being dispersed throughout the interior of the United States against the will of a lot of the immigration enforcement agents that are being ordered to do that, by the way. I've spoken to some of them, and they're very upset about having to do that. It's a disaster for our country, because a country that doesn't enforce its borders is not really a country. And it's a disaster politically, because every one of those, if they become citizens of the United States and are given amnesty, and I'm running against two people that have said they're both for a form of amnesty, in my opinion, then that is a losing proposition, not just for political parties, but for American citizens. Because we're not taking care of American citizens in order to take care of these other people permanently, and that's the wrong thing to do. It's right to be compassionate and give them warmth and clothing and food and take care of them medically, but have to be repatriated back home according to international and national law. So we should secure our border, enforce our laws, gosh darn it, and do the compassionate thing and send these folks back to their countries, and then they can try to come through the legal process.
Gee, a man who likes the rule of law. What a revolutionary concept! When we come back, when we come back from the break, let's talk a little bit about your job release plan. We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.